Welcome to the Sent and Bent podcast. Will and Steven just got back from a life experience, you could say, where things went very wrong. So today we're going to talk about that, trade some stories, and talk about some premium Ethan pranks because Ethan's in the garage working on his monster chopper today. So, you know, we got to get him because he's always getting us.
Yep.
But today we're going to brainstorm on how we can get him. So let's start things off with the text Will sent me when he thought he was going to die.
Yeah, I haven't heard this yet, Will. You didn't tell me about this.
I was just letting him know how it was. So I was letting him know how our trip was.
These two planned a camping trip like so many months ago. And
Yes.
it was obvious that the weather was snowing, lightning, blizzard, and they decided to go anyways. And on the last podcast, we talked about how Will got run over by a truck. 4 ribs.
Yep. 4 broken ribs.
How long ago was
Severed
that?
nerves. Like a month ago. Like a little over a month.
Yeah. So a month ago, and he decides to do a multiple day backpacking trip in the wilderness. And
Yeah.
your ribs don't hurt, but
No, they healed right back together.
don't they still move around?
They do move around a little bit, and I got like some road rash and some nerve damage on my pelvis. So carrying a backpack up the Enchantment Mountains kind of sucked a little bit.
And
I
we'll
can't
text-
believe any of us made it.
I know it was
Well,
a very
I got to hear
extreme-
this text. I'm so
Okay.
curious.
I said, I just can't believe how fast you healed. How was backpacking on the ribs? And Will says, it hurt a little bit, but honestly felt pretty great. I'll save some stories from Monday, but it was the first time I was like, wow, maybe I'm going to die up here.
Yeah, I actually
Literally.
remember that moment. I think I know exactly what you were talking about. Oh, yeah. What we left out is I'm a little bit injured too. I'm still nursing like a broken toe, and my knee turned into a situation. And
Yeah. So we were both kind of a little like broken going up
but
the
Will
mountain.
was speedy boy up the mountains.
I got up there an hour before half the group.
and ironically,
But why did you go even though you knew the weather was going to be so terrible?
no, we didn't.
We
That's the
didn't.
thing.
It was supposed to be
Forecast was like
slightly
scattered showers
snow.
the first day, and temperatures around like 40 degrees, and then it just never stopped snowing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, your
So-
tent was like crushed by the snow.
We
Yeah.
should put a picture of that up here. It's pretty funny.
it's very crushed. It was the most extreme experience because Sam and I, our other friend Sam, that's been on the channel, we hiked up and we're at the top of this peak for like an hour while we were waiting for everyone else to get up there. And I got up there and we had been rained on the whole time, like going up. And
How
then
many miles?
This is like 6 or 7 miles.
6 or 7 miles in of getting rained on the entire time. So, and I'm wearing like premium cotton clothes that you just wear to work, you
Will
know?
and I were both just in grind hard hoodies.
Yeah.
Like if we die because of grind hard hoodies,
Literally, we were in grind hard merch and I'm like crawling up the top of this mountain. I get to the top and it's like 20 mile per hour winds.
it was more than that. It was like 40
mile per
gusts.
hour winds. Literally, like you could probably fly off the top of the mountain with how fast that wind was going.
I thought you were going to. Will's just in like this red poncho, and it's just like.
Yeah, it was terrifying. And I got up to the top. It was like negative temperatures. And we went into this little cave that we thought was going to protect us. But instead, it was just a wind funnel. And it was like, shoo!
Okay, so my perspective on this is I was back with the rest of the group. Everyone was hurting. But you know, I felt like I should have been the slowest, but I actually wasn't in this particular case. And then I see Sam coming back down the mountain. He like emerges from the snowstorm, and he's like, "Hey, we got to get up there. Like Will's alarmingly cold." And so I was like nervous. I'm like, "Dude, I can't hike any faster. Like I couldn't bend my left knee. It was like really getting aggravated." So I'm like hobbling up this mountain on one foot.
Friend Remington was hiking behind you, and he said for the last 2 miles, he just saw a drag mark in the snow from you dragging your left leg.
I had to drag my foot like
For 2 miles.
No, a lot longer than that.
lot.
Yeah,
Like
a
12
lot.
miles.
Yeah, it was a lot. 'Cause I think the whole trip was like only 22-ish or 23 miles. Do you know? I don't know. We didn't.
I
keep
think it was
track.
like 23 miles. But when you wake up in the snow and you're already wet.
and you have to go 13.
I didn't
miles.
bring like anything. All I had was like a sleeping bag. And when we were camping, like I was on like a little bit of an incline that seemed to get more of an incline overnight. And all the moisture, I don't know where the moisture came from, but it like seeped into my backpack or into my sleeping bag. So when I woke up, I was just like soaking wet.
You need a sleeping pad if it's cold, because then you just draw in the condensation through the tent.
We should backtrack a little bit though, because Sam emerges from the clouds and he's like, we got to get up to Will. And I was like, I don't think anyone that was with me could have gone any faster than we were. And there's, you know, those sketchy cliffs that you have to go up?
Yeah.
You guys made it up before the snow hit those.
Yeah,
we hit those and it was like
we hit right
operation.
when the snow was happening, but I imagine like if any more snow had got up there, it would have been really hard to get
Yeah,
up.
there was like 3 or 4 inches on those rocks by the time Will and I, or by the time the rest of us got there. So I was following Sam as fast as I could because I knew that we needed to get a tent set up to warm Will up. I was also alarmingly cold, and I was like, this is bad. This is really bad.
Yeah.
So you got to the top, and then
I found Will in a cave, just huddled in his little poncho, shivering. He's like, we gotta go, man. We gotta go.
Is that when you thought you were going to die, or was it
Yeah,
later?
dude, I was getting there was a lot of times I thought I was going to die, but like I've done the loop in the summertime in a day, and it's like really enjoyable because it's warm. And I was like
Enchantment
thinking,
loop? What is it called?
It's an enchantment loop.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just guessing. That's
you got
premium.
it. Yeah, you nailed it.
And like on most camping trips, like around in the area we are, like you can have a fire. But in Washington, you're not allowed to have a fire above 5,000 feet.
Yeah,
so,
in wilderness areas.
at all. So like if you're
We
cold,
couldn't have started a fire anyways. Well, do you think either of us were capable of starting a fire
but
in a
like
blizzard?
there was a no fire situation, so my bones just started getting colder and colder, like creaky little like old pieces of metal. Like I could like barely move.
No.
And I just remember sitting there and like Sam was making hot water because that's all we had to drink. He was boiling hot water, and my hands were so cold when I touched it. I was like holding on to it for like a good 5 minutes before I realized it was like burning the crap out of my hands. Like,
So you were like actually hypothermic.
yeah, I like couldn't feel anything.
Yeah, and then Will and I are both shivering. We're like, we got to get the tent set up. We got to get the tent set up. And then somehow my tent was already wet when we started setting it up.
Yeah.
Because everyone else had these premium, like, covers for their bags. I forgot one. So I just used, like, a giant black garbage bag and then earned the name Trash Man or something.
Yeah,
What do they
Trash
call
Man.
me? Yeah,
Trash Man Steve.
Because it looked like I was just actually carrying garbage up the mountain. But anyway, the tent got wet, so we were setting it up, and like the poles were like freezing together.
Yeah.
It was like kind of a situation. We finally get it set up, and then I'm like, all right, well, we should blow up our sleeping pads. And he's like, oh no. I was like, Will.
It said optional on the list.
I did
that
not
Steven
say
sent me.
optional.
Dude, we can pop a picture up on the screen. It says all these things, and it says sleeping bag optional. And so I was like, well, I'm not carrying a sleeping
I don't
bag.
think it said optional. I'm going to look.
Okay.
I sent Will a list, and I'm like, all right, these are like the essentials. And he's like,
Survive.
yeah, the survival essentials. And he's like, I got most of it. And I was like, Will, like, you should be having more than is on that list. Like, that was like.
Let's just say my backpack was pretty light going up there.
I wonder why you're so much faster than everyone
Yeah,
else.
it's pretty speedy.
Oh man, that was a long night actually.
Yeah.
And somehow everyone else just stayed dry, and Sam was all chipper. I've never seen Sam that chipper. He's like out in the blizzard. Everyone else is huddled in their tents, including these other 2 girls that came up, and we didn't know them, but they were lost. They're like, can we camp with you? Because it was like white out. You couldn't see anything. It was about to get dark. The snow never stopped.
Yeah. Those of you that don't know Sam just through the videos, he's, I wouldn't say a negative person. Like overall, he's like positive, super fun to hang out with. But if you're in a situation where things are going poorly, he's normally the one like mega complaining.
Like, we need to get out of here.
Like very hard.
I was on another trip
I've never
with him.
seen him like this, like being the we're okay, guys.
Yeah, I think he knew the entire group was about to fall apart.
Yeah.
And he just kind of went into like dad mode. But I've been on a trip with him before where he left like 3 days early because he got mosquito bites.
Yeah, so to
I was
see him
kinda surprised.
skipping around in a blizzard in like negative 14-degree weather was pretty amazing.
Honestly, it kind of shows how bad it was that Sam was the one keeping it together.
Yeah, it was really bad. Like, it was pretty much a survival situation. And
There
then,
was a moment or two that was like, wow, we should probably like not die.
yeah.
And then I want to know what was going through your head, Will, because you get done with this, and I'm like, let's go e-foiling. And you were like, oh, I'm camping with Katie this weekend. And I was like, oh, it's going to snow. And you were like, yeah.
Yeah, so we went up to the top of another mountain in Idaho, and it was snowing, and it was windy. And this time, though, I could have a fire. And I already told her, like, I forgot I was going on the Enchantment Trip the week that I was going on the Enchantment Trip. And so I was like, yeah, we'll go camping this weekend. And then she took that weekend off to go camping. And then I was like, oh, I have to go on the Enchantment Trip. So I went on the Enchantment Trip, and then I was like, oh, perfect. Got right back in time to go on the next camping trip, which was way more enjoyable.
That's because I sent your girlfriend a list to pack.
Well, no, I actually brought all my stuff. Like that time, I think I learned a big lesson. Like I didn't bring cotton. I brought a sleeping pad and like a good cover for the tent and stuff.
School of Hard Knocks.
It was the School of Hard Knocks, but the first night, everything was so wet up there, I couldn't start a fire. So Katie got a little idea of what the enchantment was like because we got pretty cold. But in the morning, I was able to start a fire, and it was really nice and it cleared up. But when we crest the hill, it was her first time backpacking or like doing anything like that. And we crest the top of the hill. And I've already been saying like, oh, just a mile further, just a mile further for like 5 miles. So she's kind of sick of it at this point. And there's a man that crawls out of his like hammock and it's like covered in snow. And he's like, the fog never goes away. And Katie was like, huh? And he's like, it's going to keep snowing forever and all this stuff. And it was freaking her out a little bit. But
man.
Yeah, no, it was a good trip overall. Both those trips were fun. But when we got down from the enchantments, we just spent like a whole day in this little town, this little like fake elf town in the middle of Washington.
Fake elf town.
Yeah, it's really weird. You go in there and there's like people like that look like they're from the olden times, and like the whole place looks
It's
like
German themed. It's a German themed town in
like
Washington.
an old school German.
Leavenworth?
Yeah, that place.
It's not an elf
It's like
town.
Old elf town?
Yeah, it is an old elf town. You come down from the mountains, you're like, what the devil? There's
Really
like
good
a weird,
German food there.
Oh yeah, we ate some
you eat?
brats and some.
there's just hot dogs in that town. Actually, there's hot dogs and a cheese place that's like 2 stories deep into the dirt.
Oh yeah, Will was making fun of me. He's like, of course Steven would know his measurements on cheese because I was like, oh, I'll take a quarter pound
This
of the
guy
rosemary
went
and
in-
Saggio.
Yeah, this guy went in like a career criminal. He goes in to the cheese place, and it's like dingy and dark in there, and there's like elfish music playing. And we're like in this like dingy, dark like bar place under
Sounds
the
like
ground.
a Skyrim like
Yeah, exactly.
slave
It is.
mission.
Yeah,
Like-
it's great. I love that store.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like exactly like some weird Skyrim side
I was like,
mission.
guys, they got like samples in here, and they gave us this ghost pepper cheese, and we were all like, yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, and he goes down there, and there's like this guy like chomping up cheese, like, what do you want? And Steven's like, I'll take a quarter pound of that, like an ounce of the little like cheese nuggets. And I'm like, huh? And he's like saying all these like pounds and weights. I'm like, this man is very weird.
Well, he just knows how much the cheese weighs that he wants.
Yeah, that is weird. Like, there's a reason they put the labels on normal, like, store-bought cheese that say, like, half a
Ounces.
pound or something. This man just knows. Like, they wrapped this cheese up in saran wrap and just gave it to him. Like, he knows he's not getting screwed over. This man's eating a lot of cheese in his life.
I do like cheese. That place is good. I
So
should
that
have
just
brought
blew
you some.
you away.
Yeah, it blew me away because these people seem to, like, kind of know Steven in, like, a weird way. Like,
I've been going to
was-
that store since I
it
was
was,
a kid.
yeah, it was very, like, I was just like, what the? He's like, yeah, I'm here for the package of cheese, like, this and that. I'm like,
Uh-oh. Hopefully there's not a forest fire coming. Oh,
Mine's going off too. What the heck?
I guess on...
it's the thing that
It's the
Oh,
test.
it's a test.
all the people
And I
have
have
been
do
hung
not
on.
disturb on, and
Yeah,
they
how do
still
we get
throw
this
that
to
in
go
there. I guess
away?
you probably still need to know about emergencies.
Well,
No, this is just a test for the national emergency system. It's not
Oh.
even a real emergency.
Well, the good news is there's no forest fires coming.
Yep.
So I guess we'll progress.
Yeah, we'll
So if
progress.
the cheese situation blew you away that much, let's see. This is October like 2nd. What is the thing that blew you the most away in all of September?
September was the month before. So, yeah. Okay. I just had to remember really quick. That was the time that we went on the enchantment hike. Was in September.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So like anything that happened like a couple of weeks before that.
What did you do in September, Will?
I don't know. What did we do in September?
Maybe that was a bad question.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about the cheese
what
situation.
if I just say this instead? What is the thing that blew you the most away recently? Or is the cheese just at the top of the list?
Well, it's pretty high up there because it was weird, You're just you're in a van with this man.
Well, there's an entire line of people well, I'll take an 1/8 pound of this and can I
no,
try a sample?
there's not, dude.
There was
I could see it
7
being
people in
different
there.
when you were up there because you're like a pirate.
Yeah,
and you're
it just was
bartering in
weird.
Tortuga.
Yeah, it was just different. It was just straight out a video game or something. And I was like, this man.
Yeah, you
is
get
different.
dialogue options with those people in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's great.
honestly, the thing that blew me away the most in the last couple of months would probably be, honestly, that cheese thing was pretty cool. And I would just say the amount of distance that I have to walk in the new shop,
Yeah.
that kind of blew me away. I've gotten 10,000 steps just on my iPhone that's tracking me,
Yeah.
just working. I used to get 3,000 steps. Now I get 10,000 steps. That's a lot. So
Well, you're on the cusp of finishing the Ruckus in the new garage.
I am on the cusp. It's sitting there on its stand. It's very cool.
Will
I don't
and I
know
were
how
trying
much.
to bleed the brakes yesterday, and it was an entire
It took
ordeal.
2 hours, dude.
But it's only one brake, right? Because the
Yeah.
front never got disconnected.
Yeah.
And it's a cable brake in the front, right?
Yeah, it's cable,
200
right?
horsepower with a front cable brake on a scooter. That's how you party.
That's how you party.
I don't understand this. Maybe you could break it down for me. Why does Ethan think that it won't wheelie? It has an engine in the back
So here's the thing.
and 200 horsepower.
I don't think he thinks it couldn't necessarily. He thinks it shouldn't.
No,
I
Ethan
think-
has specifically told me. Ethan's not here, so I'm going to say it.
Uh-huh.
He specifically told me that it will wheelie hardcore.
He just doesn't want me to
He
know
doesn't
that.
want you to know that it will wheelie.
Yeah, well, I think
fair
what the
enough.
issue is if you came down hard from a wheelie on that,
It
that
will
front of that
technically
thing will
break
just,
the aluminum.
yeah.
But I also think that we're kind of underestimating the strength of that vehicle
Of a
because
Honda Ruckus.
the Honda Ruckus is made, that whole front end, it was never modified by me. I didn't do anything to it. I didn't cut into anything. And that thing is meant for consumer grade, commuting.
Yeah.
So you would, and we did wheelies on it before, and it's not like we really added a lot of weight to the front. It's
Yeah.
still a Ruckus in the front.
And I was doing mad wheelies on it.
Yeah, and I built the rear, and the rear's super strong. So you just have a super strong rear, no weight in the front.
And now we
I
have
don't
a
know.
clutch, so we can finesse the wheelie so much.
It's not going to be
easier
wham
than
like it
before.
was on the
Yeah.
CVT. So, I mean, I think it would be extremely dangerous to do a wheelie on that because you have a very small margin of error on that tire. It's like a wheelbarrow tire.
Yeah.
And if you fell off that, you'd probably go into the shredder, which would be very dangerous. Because there's only about a 1/4 inch between that tire and the engine, and if it sucked you in or something, you would be ruckused.
Well, the number one rule of wheeling is don't crash.
Yeah, but if you did crash, that would be really bad.
So what you're saying is you can't wait to wheelie it.
I would love to wheelie it once or twice, and I think,
Yeah, just for, just to know you
yeah.
know.
And honestly, I think it would be a lot more dangerous to have a failure at 160 miles an hour on the Ruckus
Well, yeah, way more dangerous.
than falling off a wheelie. I don't think that would be that dangerous. But
I like how serious Ethan got with it too. He's like, all right, when we go to test drive the Ruckus, there's going to be rules. And if you don't follow them, Will,
yeah, he laid out a whole bunch
He's
of
gonna
rules.
take your keys. He told me.
Yeah, so
He said if you go over 60, he's gonna take your keys.
I know, but it's ridiculous because I built that thing to be high powered. The world record for a stock Ruckus, for any Ruckus class actually, is 75 miles an hour. So I technically have to go faster than that.
Yeah.
Because if I built the world's fastest Ruckus, I
Yeah.
have to prove.
Yeah.
So needs to be one day I'll go in my suit, and I've already proven time and time again that I can be tossed around. Like, I don't break that bad if I crash. I'll just put on my suit, put on motorcycle gear, gloves, everything. I want to go to like the salt flats, and I want to lay down the fastest known time. I want to lay down a time that no one can ever beat.
I wonder, because the Ruckus is like a scooter, like some people would call it a moped, but it's like Honda's version of a Vespa.
Yeah.
It has 2 horsepower normally.
Yeah.
This one has 189.
Yeah, like 187 or something like that.
Yeah. So what I'm wondering is if it's actually not going to fold or collapse going over 100, is it just the fastest scooter of that kind?
Yeah, it would be the fastest scooter in any class.
Ruckus, but I feel like it's also the fastest scooter.
Yeah, because I don't see anyone else putting liter bike engines in.
And this is what I'm thinking. Because most people, I've reached out to 8 different drag strips about drag racing the Power Wheels. And they're all like, oh, it's like a go-kart? I'm like, yeah, it's like a go-kart. They're like, oh, that's fine. And then I'm like, send them pictures or whatever. They look up Grind Hard Plumbing Company, and the first thing that pops up is Ethan doing a wheelie in the Barbie Jeep. And like, no, I'd lose my insurance. You know?
Yeah.
What I'm thinking with the Ruckus is bikes are allowed on the drag strip all the time.
Yeah, Hayabusas flip. Yeah, like nitrous Hayabusas flip like 20 feet in the air. Yeah. And people are just like,
So what I'm thinking is,
sign a waiver.
Why wouldn't they let us do it on an official drag strip?
Yeah.
You can wear all your gear. There's fire suppression there.
Yeah.
It couldn't be a safer place to set the world record.
Yeah, and even if the front wheel did pop off, like it's just like, I'll just
slide.
Jump off. Yeah.
Well, I think we should get tires actually rated for the speed before we try to break
Yeah, because those tires that we have on it right now are like for a kid's 4-wheeler, and they'd probably blow up at like 70 miles an hour.
That I think we should never ride it with that tire. I just bought some new ones.
Yeah. I think we could putz around. Like it could putt around today.
Yeah, and we should just do a crazy burnout and completely roast that tire off.
Honestly, I think that tire might balloon before it like burns out. That's the problem. Because I didn't design that bike to even like have space between the engine and the tire. Like there's like that much space.
Oh, so it balloons a little bit and it's going to hit the engine.
Well, and the brakes are like actually rubbing on the...
There's a very small margin. But if it ballooned...
What are the brakes rubbing on?
The tire.
Well, no, I moved the tire over a little bit, so it doesn't rub on it anymore.
Okay, it's like, that sounds jank.
But it's super close. Like everything's like super tight tolerances, so we need a tire that's hard.
How much clearance did you get? Because it looked like it was like touching before.
It's like that much all the way around. Yeah.
Will's holding up like a 1/4 inch on his hands. Less than a 1/4 inch. Okay.
Like an eighth.
Like that much.
Steven, what is the thing that happened in September that blew you away the most? Because you had quite a month too.
No, actually September was chill because I was just trying to recover. I didn't do anything in September until that hike. So that probably is what blew me. Well, actually, okay, let's be fair. What blew me away the most is how surprised Will was that I knew how much cheese to order.
So both of your guys' most shocking time of the entire month was this cheese.
Yeah.
That cheese store is pretty cool, dude.
It is.
It's the Cheesemongers in Leavenworth. You guys got to go. It's good. Yep. I should have brought you some of the jalapeno, or what was it? No, the ghost pepper cheese.
Yeah.
We should have got some.
That will clear your system out.
Really?
They gave us samples of it, and then we were all like in tears in there for a while.
Really?
Yeah. It was really spicy.
It was.
Wow. It was so
I wonder
good.
if I could just send it or if I would.
You could probably just send it. I've seen this man make spaghetti with sriracha sauce.
Same. Yeah, that's the...
Wait, you've seen that too?
I haven't, but I've seen, you've told me about that, and I've seen him like add like half a bottle of sriracha to some ramen before. He was like, nice. And then he just like poured it in, and there was more sriracha.
The more the merrier. This sriracha shortage is really getting to me. I'm out now.
Have you seen that Tabasco is making a sriracha style sauce now?
Really?
It probably tastes exactly like sriracha, right? Have you tried it?
No, I haven't.
I haven't tried it
But
either.
I do have a weird story about sriracha from that weird town that we were in, Leavenworth.
Huh?
A lot happened in this town.
Well, we were there for a long time because, we got there like And then we decided, we should just start the hike tomorrow. It's really bad weather today. So we were being responsible. So we had a whole day to wander around to the cheese stores, get hot dogs, And then on the way back, we also had a whole day there because the alternator went out in Michael's van. So we were stuck there trying to get an alternator. So we went, back to more cheese stores. And
So you found sriracha there?
Well, this is the weird story about that. Yes, there is a lot of sriracha in that town. And the reason I know that is a fan, saw me in this little the one convenience store in this town. And he was like, "Oh, Grindhard Plumbing Co. Are you getting something here? How's the Ruckus going and stuff?" And then we had this conversation. He was like, "This is the only place around here in Washington you can get sriracha." And he showed me this aisle.
The real sriracha?
Full of real sriracha.
Yeah, Michael actually talked about that in the van on the way there, too. He's like, Leavenworth's the only place I've found sriracha.
And there's
this weekend.
Yeah, it's only 4 hours away from here.
I will go there just for sriracha and come back.
They have a ton.
Well, you got to go to the cheese store, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a nice little town if you want a hot dog and some cheese.
I wonder if there just isn't enough people there to buy the stock of sriracha they had before the sriracha shortage.
I don't know. It's a pretty touristy place. It was popping. And then they have the Oktoberfest going on. So there's all these girls running around, and what are those called? The Lederhausen things?
Oh, yeah, I have those. Yeah,
Wait,
Lederhausen is for men, and I forget what
is it for
is
women?
What's a Lederhausen?
I had some girl sending me pictures from there. And
But there's Oktoberfest in Sandpoint this year. I think it's the 16th. It's right after Ethan's birthday. And I was thinking that we should all go out because I have real Lederhausen, and I guarantee you I'll be the only person wearing Lederhausen. But on real Oktoberfest, I just can't even. If the cheese store blew your mind, Will, real Oktoberfest would blow your mind.
Why so?
Dude. It's have you seen documentaries or anything about it?
No.
But the premise, drinking festival?
Yeah, it's a beer festival.
Yeah. So Germany has all these super traditional old names. Your great grandpa was probably a fan of this beer or whatever. All the beers just have 3 ingredients. They're really basic. They don't really hurt your stomach. They don't it's not this weird stuff that they have the 8% IPAs, or there's none of that. It's just normal German beer. I think it's called malt beer. I don't know. But anyways, you show up and it's so big of these giant tents, and they have stages in the middle and all these huge tables, and the waitresses are coming around with just pyramids of beer in the giant
kegs,
2-liter
little
glass
oh
things.
The pitchers.
Those mugs are satisfying.
Rings, yeah. They're holding 20 in one go, just and carrying them around. And
where's this happen?
To tables in Munich, Germany.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I thought you were talking about this small little town that we were in.
Well, I think they replicated in Leavenworth. I mean,
it's in Leavenworth too.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do Oktoberfest everywhere now.
Oh, okay.
But it's the big one, the real one is in Munich. So there's these giant tents, and then you go there, you get a drink, you get a pretzel, whatever, and it is just lit all day. You go there at 10 in the morning, lit.
That's sick.
Lit. Everyone's dancing. Everyone's having a good time.
That's so cool.
I didn't see anyone out of control. Every single person in the entire place is wearing the Lederhausen, leather shorts with the straps. And then the girls are wearing the kind of tight dress things. I don't know what they're called.
And how long does this go for?
I think 3 weeks.
Oh, we get the American edition, 1 day festival or something.
But this everyone's traveling all over Germany,
That's cool.
all over Europe. It's so cool. And then there's amusement park rides, really cool ones.
They had a janky small version of that at the
all they had was
town.
a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the amusement park rides are fun and all. But there's adult mirror houses. When you're a kid and you go in the little mirror houses and they're all trippy. Imagine you were drinking these giant beer things and everyone's just having a great time. You're super jazzed. And you go into an adult-sized mirror house. It is the trippiest experience a person could have. It took me like 4 hours to get out.
Oh.
There's like slides like that are all mirrors. So you're like walking and then all of a sudden you're slipping down a slide and then you're like in this other mirror maze and then you're like running into mirrors and there's other people in there wearing their lederhosen running into mirrors. And then I finally got out. I really thought I was in a video game. I was like, that can't be a real life experience. That was...
That's awesome.
That was the most like mind-blowing thing of my month. But the other crazy thing, they call this like the devil's wheel or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's girls only. There's this big mirrored, like slightly cambered wheel that's in the middle of a room. All the girls like pack onto this thing and you try to be the last one standing. And it just spins in circles and flings them into the crowd.
Oh!
And then if they stay on too long, they throw like ropes and stuff to like try to trip you so you fall off the spinning wheel.
Oh,
What the?
We should build one of those, the Grind Hard edition.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be
And you
cool.
just walk right in. There's no waivers. Like
You just walk
Europe
on
doesn't
them.
have the like suing culture that the US does. Like think of how
Interesting.
sued you would get.
You'd
It's
get
like,
so sued.
No waiver and you got on
Yeah.
a spinning wheel and hit with a rope.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You would get sued hard.
Yeah.
Can't do nice things.
I think you would really like it. It would
Yeah,
blow
that
your
sounds like a
mind.
lot of fun.
It's really nice. Yeah, it was funny because my wife she got pulled onto stage. Mm-hmm. I think they thought she was local or something because she was dancing.
Yeah.
And so she's dancing on stage. There's like thousands of people in this booth, and she's just like dancing, and she's a good dancer, so she could kind of see what everyone else was doing and kind of did it. And so they thought that she was a local, and they handed her the microphone.
Oh, no.
And she doesn't know how to sing German songs. And so she was like, oh, and then they like took her off stage once they realized she didn't know the songs.
Oh,
amazing.
that's so embarrassing.
So funny. Yeah, that was a really good trip.
That
But
sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go there.
that's like the real Leavenworth is like a wish.com version.
No, Leavenworth is like the Hollywood set of like of a place somewhere, like Germany.
They do a lot of like
did it
plays
start,
there,
Steven?
like Sound of Music.
Yeah, where did that town come from?
I don't know, actually. I don't know the
because
history.
it must have started with actual Germans like wanting a place to feel like home. Like
I
that's
mean,
like,
it does kind of look like the Alps there. I mean,
That kind of does.
but I guess,
like
wait,
Chinatown
Germany doesn't
in
have the Alps, do they?
California. Like they all.
Does Germany have the Alps?
Did you just ask me about a mountain range somewhere? I don't
I'm
know.
trying to think of what the Alpine countries are.
Oh, this is so embarrassing.
Oh, man. We need a map in here. We need
Yeah.
like a world map
Yeah.
that we can.
Oh, also in Leavenworth, I've been wanting to see this. This podcast has really turned into the Leavenworth Experience podcast, but there's a lot to talk about that place. There's they made this like slide that goes down the mountain.
The roller coaster?
Yeah. It's supposed to be this like awesome thing. I've seen videos of it in places that actually made one, but Leavenworth made the wish.com version because Sam and I went and checked it out while Steven was in the cheese store for the third time. And I was like super excited. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I've heard about this. This is sick. You get to slide down the mountain on this slide, like go really fast down the mountain.
Yeah.
Super cool. We get there and it's like a 50-foot track that just
And they built that
goes.
forever, too.
Yeah, they've been building it for years. So when I saw the track around the mountain, I was like, nice. And then we get there, it's just like a 50-foot length of track. And it's like, welcome to the Leavenworth track experience. And I'm like, huh?
So you just sit on a cart, go down.
And go down the track and it's done. And it's like $20.
It's got like a couple curves, you know?
Not even. It's
Wait,
like,
you guys rode that?
no, we like went because I was like, I want to check out this thing. And if it's
Yeah.
really cool, I'll pay $20 and I'll go down the mountain. And I got there and there was like a 3-year-old that paid $20 to go down this track. And I was like, huh? And he just was like, shoot. And then it ended. And I was like, what? It's terrible. It's like a way to sell weird knockoff Germany things.
Oh, man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I wonder how many errors we've made in our
Oh yeah, we've said everything wrong.
Yeah.
I know when you were talking about pirates earlier, I said Tartuga instead of Tortuga.
What is that?
That means turtle, right?
Yeah, but it's that island in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably not even a real island.
I did spend a lot of years
Pirates
looking
of
like.
the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Caribbean.
Well, you've seen. No, it could be Caribbean or Caribbean.
Okay, phew. I was like, I've been saying that wrong for my whole life.
I used to look like a Wish.com Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Dude, you were beyond Jack Sparrow. I wouldn't say there's anything Wish.com. Steven had dreads. He had beads in his dreads. I remember the hardest I ever laughed was
Oh, no.
we were hiking and Steven was like, oh yeah, this is like this cap from this nice sunset I had. This is this beads that this girl made me, this really cool like hand blown air bead. What do you call that?
Glass blown beads?
That's the correct order of the words.
Ah.
And then I was like, what is this one? He was like, oh, that's some girl's toe ring. It
Oh,
was just in his hair for
I had
years.
that for years. Yeah. I mean, I like rinsed it off.
what happened to your hair? Where did it go?
Well, okay, here's the thing. I had exactly 50 dreadlocks, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool if when I shave them, I just leave one in each state. And then I shaved them off, and I had a mohawk for a while.
Like if you were traveling,
Yeah, I just like leave one in each state. You know, that seemed like a good idea. You
where
know?
would you leave it? Like in a trash can?
Just like on the ground. I don't know.
Oh,
But then, okay, yeah, right.
What
so
inspired you to do that?
no, I didn't do that because I realized that's a dumb idea.
It's kind of
And
gross.
then I like shaved them off, and I was like, I think I'll just throw them away.
oh,
Yeah.
That's a lot of
bummer.
history. That was a sad day.
Yeah,
I think
well,
all
most
of
of
our
the
friends
beads and all the good stuff was like broken anyway.
Oh.
Also, I was traveling once and I used to have bottle caps, and TSA was like, "You can't have that," and I was like, "Really?" They're like, "Well, what if you have something in the bottle cap?" So I had to like get like a tool to like remove these bottle caps from my hair
In the
before
airport?
yeah, and they then like I was sad because I've been collecting bottle caps from different countries and putting them in my hair. I was like, "Oh, look at this! Yeah, this one's from Sweden or whatever," and yeah.
oh,
By the time I cut my hair, I didn't have anything cool left there.
oh! TSA took it all.
No, they just took the caps. It was
Oh.
weird. Yeah, I was like, "What about the beads?" I didn't
Yeah.
say anything, but
Well, the beads weren't metal, probably.
What about the
probably had
switchblade
some.
I have grown into my hair?
Well, it's the toe ring. Did they take the toe ring?
I think it was already lost at that
Oh.
point. I'm not sure.
Well,
Yeah.
if you lost your toe ring, what's the point of having dreads anymore?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I also forget who gave that to me.
I'll remember it for the rest of my life. That was the hardest I ever laughed. I laughed so hard. We were hiking up this mountain and we were really into climbing radio towers at the moment. So we Steven was like, oh yeah, I've done it before. There's no cameras. And we get there and there's like all these new signs and like barbed wire fences. And it was like, we have cameras. Like you're on camera.
I didn't
Like,
believe him. I was
we
like,
will-
nah, they don't have cameras.
you know, those ones that are like will prosecute
Yeah.
or whatever. So we see a four-wheeler going down the hill that has like the official like Forest Service stuff.
Oh,
And we're like, oh, well, he's going down the hill. Nice. So we go up there, hop this barbed wire fence, climb this tower. How tall is that tower?
Probably, I would guess 200 feet. It's tall.
And it doesn't really have like a ladder, so you just have to actually like, climb
the like.
scaffolding.
No,
that-
there's
so
there's a
cool.
ladder on that one. It's just really jank.
Yeah.
It's like kind of flimsy and
You're
like
better off climbing the scaffolding.
Oh,
One of those situations. Steven had a flip phone. The last person I knew that still was using a flip phone.
I used a flip phone for a long time.
Held down the fort, dude.
dude, I miss my flip phone. You used to be able to be fancy with them.
And they're indestructible.
Very cool.
So we hop this fence, we get up there, and then we start hearing the four-wheeler. And we're just having like a good time on top of there, taking pictures. It was like sunset. It was so cool. We hear the four-wheeler. We're like, we got to go.
Yeah,
And
I
so we,
basically slid down the ladder and Ed's still up there like packing up his drone and stuff. I was like, we gotta go, man.
Oh
I was
no!
always filming our adventures way before Grind Hard.
Yeah.
But we pack it up, get over the fence just in time. Michael's with us too. He just gets over the fence, and then the four-wheeler guy comes, and he was like looking at us, and we were like looking at him like we're innocent bystanders that never did anything wrong. And
Didn't he say something? I don't
He
remember.
said something. He was like, "You guys can't be like around this tower." And we were like, "Oh yeah,
We were on the tower, bro.
we were just taking pictures." And he was like, "I think it's obvious that the camera signs were bluffs, because if he was like, I saw you on the camera,
Yeah.
then I think we would have been in trouble." But
I used to go up there to watch fireworks on like the 4th of July because you could see fireworks like over Spokane,
Oh,
Coeur
that's
d'Alene. You
cool.
could see all the way to Silverwood.
that is
What's that
nice.
other lake? Hayden Lake.
Yeah.
You can see a lot from up there. It's a
Good
great
spot. Good
I
tower.
haven't climbed that tower in a while. I bet that they really have security cameras now after
Oh,
all
yeah.
of our shenanigans.
Probably. Well, and just Coeur d'Alene's population
Yeah.
is at a lot. But
I camped up there once too.
I'm getting a little nostalgic.
Yeah. We've
wanna
had a
camp
lot
there.
of crazy times.
Yeah. And also, like, this is a hard situation for podcasting because the light always changes and we need to like completely rearrange Ethan's living room. But
Every time.
we're podcasting on the V12 Jaguar table that we took to the Gambler. It was a fuel injected machine that we carbureted. We cut one of the lobes off the, what's this part called, Will?
Off what?
This camshaft?
The camshaft?
Yeah,
Wait, you cut a
one of
lobe
the
off
cams
camshaft?
so that the piston didn't go up and down.
Oh.
So that it was an 11 cylinder. We still sent fuel to it, but we like didn't make it move up
Yeah.
and down so it didn't mess up the rest of it, right?
Oh.
And so then, that's probably not how that works, is it? Anyways, one of the pistons wasn't going. And so that's why this engine is so legendary. And
It's the V11.
before we started podcasting here, we were like, we need a new epoxy table for when we start podcasting in the new garage, because we can leave the stuff set up. It'll be so much easier. We can have more guests on a bigger table. Mm-hmm. And Will and I were like, I think we know.
We need
But
to
there's
take.
no way Ethan will let us do it.
We
So
might have
this
to
is
craft
the
it in
Ethan
secret.
prank.
And I know Ethan doesn't watch the podcast. so
Exactly. He's never going to hear this.
You're never going to hear it.
Wait,
You
was this
guys will know.
Your Grom idea?
Yeah, we want to
Oh,
take
no.
the Grom, okay? Because we know where all the parts are. Ethan scattered them across the land, but I still have a visual map of where that
Yeah.
Grom is.
And this is the thing. There's certain moments in our YouTube channel's history of, there's some things that were complete one-offs. Like we bought this amphibious 6-wheel drive machine that was one episode. It didn't really work. We got it working and we're like, you know what? This isn't worth our time. It's been sitting in the woods the whole time. That isn't what I would call a grind hard mythical beast. The Grom is absolutely a grind hard mythical beast, because Will and I decided that we wanted to build a 3-wheeler Honda Grom because they're cheap. It's like the cheapest, easiest street bike that you could turn into a 3-wheeler.
Yeah,
realistically.
and the Honda Grom's like pretty cheap, but
Yeah.
we got into a situation with our Grom. A very interesting situation that was caught on film. I got swindled for.
Literally the moment.
You got swindled by a known swindler. You were
I
like,
got
I don't
swindled.
trust this man, and you still went and bought it at
Yup.
the midnight hours of the night.
At 1 o'clock in the morning, it was when I was doing my all-night send sessions with Subarus. I had already told Grindhard, I was like, I found a good deal on a Grom. It's almost too good to be true. Like, it has really low miles. It's clean.
And you told me, you're like, I'm going to check the VIN to make sure it's not stolen or crashed, because this guy is a known swindler in the Subaru community.
Yeah.
Like, not the way we use the word swindler, like an actual swindler. He rips people off.
Like, he rips people off. He rips people off hard. Like, he rolls up on a Skyline and he's like, yeah, I ripped all these people off to get this car. And he has like 10 of them or
Like
something.
he brags about it.
Yeah, like, like everyone knows this man rips people off big time.
So
Like,
Will decides to buy a motorcycle from him logically.
yeah, so I had like a little like situation going. I had let all my friends know, they're all fans of the channel, and I was like, we need a Honda Grom. Edwin and I have an idea. So all day there was Honda Groms coming by, like real Honda Groms coming by my shop. And then
So you'd seen real ones that day?
yeah, they're exact replicas. The plastic's been replicated. The covers, the engine covers, everything on this bike has been replicated because it's the same casting from Honda, but it has the logos removed. And all these people that showed me theirs had like wraps on their bikes and like
So you couldn't see the Honda logos anyways.
No, like they were just a little jankier than this one. And so my other friend was like, hey, I know you don't like this guy, but he did say that he has a Honda Grom and he knows you're looking for one. And I was like, I'll give it a chance, man. And so I was like, I hit him up and he was like, well, I'm not going to be around for a while. And this is like the first part I should have known. He like does this swindly thing where he'll like meet you really late at night. And so I was like, hey, come by. I knew he was at the shop that is like one gate over from where my shop used to be. I knew he was there that day because he was selling cars to people and they're driving out with these janky Subarus. So I knew he was at his shop at that time. And he's like,
he was swindling multiple people that day.
And he was like, I'll meet you at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, okay, sure. And he was like, to make the deal work, I'm going to need like $2,000 and a Subaru exhaust. And so I was like, okay, that sounds fair. Like, I had budget from you guys, and I was like,
but how much at the time was like an actual used Honda Grom? Like
$3,000.
It did seem kind of too good to be true.
And this one was like mint condition, like 700 miles and $2,000. And I was like, wow, this is such a great deal. So I like show up at his unit, see the Grom in like the dark, dingy corner. And he like is having like a hard time starting it for a second. And I'm like, this is interesting. And he's like, oh, it's just been sitting for a while. The gas is old. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like a little worried about it anyway. And so I checked the VIN on a VIN report website. But it's the National Crime Bureau of Investigation's website. So they don't actually list the name of the vehicle.
Oh.
They just list the VIN. And then they say if it has criminal records against it or if it's been in an accident. So I just saw no accident, no stolen. And I was like, okay, maybe he's being honest. The next day, so he pulls it up at like 2 o'clock at this point, sells it to me, takes the Subaru exhaust and $2,000. And the next day, I think you guys come to film with it. And we film, to be fair, all three of us film a video.
When we first showed up, I was like, oh, because I never seen Will's garage before. And I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, you have kind of more stuff going on than I thought. And I was like, where are your power tools? And he was like, oh, I don't have any. I was like, you're doing Subaru head gaskets all night, every day, like pulling the full
with
engine,
hand tools at that point.
With the hand tools. You've been doing it for over a year.
Yeah.
With hand tools. He's making thousands of dollars doing these head gasket jobs for people, and he hadn't sprung for a DAC yet.
Yeah. I didn't have any electrical tools, like not even an electrical screwdriver.
And he even had plugins.
Yeah. I had like 220 and all this stuff, and I just had hand tools, and I was doing like 3 head gaskets a night at that time.
So we get to the Grom, and I'm like, oh, wow, it looks really clean. I can't believe you got it for so cheap.
You showed up, you saw it, Steven saw it, I had seen it. We were like, wow, this is really cool. Yeah. And we like made a whole video on it.
There was a red flag the first thing though, because you were trying to start it and you're like, oh yeah, the steering has to be at a certain angle to even start. Like,
I forgot that. It had to be like at a weird angle to push the start button.
Like 5% off of full walk to the left is the only way it would start. And you're like, yeah, but once you find the spot, it works just fine. And then I was like, oh, premium. And I was like, let's do wheelies. So yeah, we went out, filmed all day.
And the funny thing about this
was fake.
The funny thing about this is I also had a fake, it was called like a Vader 125 or something. I had a fake Grom at my shop already that I owned.
But you knew was fake.
Because it was like a different style. But it had like a very similar button layout, screen layout. But I was like, it's just like the same thing. Like the Grom stuff looks exactly the same. It's just better quality. And it says Honda all over it. And so we made a whole video with this.
And we wanted to film it in Spokane so we could like go around the street and do wheelies and stuff. I drove the Mad Max Tesla that has the roll cage.
At the time when it could drive to Spokane.
So I drive to Spokane. We'd go around filming we had a pretty good time. Steven was filming from the one wheel. Like, we got some good wheelie shots.
I ran into
And then we
Steven.
realized the Tesla was not going to have enough charge, and then Ethan had to come save us.
Yeah. And the second Ethan gets there, he drops his tailgate, looks at the Grom. Steven's filming this moment. And Ethan's like, Will, this isn't real. And we were like, what do you mean? He was like, where does it say Honda on it? And we were like, oh no. And so I went and got the title, and Will was like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's real. And Ethan was like, no, like all these parts are so cheap. There's no way this is a real Grom. And I haven't even seen a real Grom up close before. We look on the title. It literally says like made in China, and it's like Dijon is the manufacturer. We go on Amazon, and the bike that Will just traded an exhaust and $2,000 for, brand new, is $1,200.
Oh.
And we were like, oh no.
Yeah.
So that is the start of the Grom Saga. And then we turn it into a 3-wheeler, and we should have Steven tell this side of the story, because I've heard your side of the story. How did the first test drive go on the 3-wheeler Grom? This is why the Grom is a legend.
That's when you went over the fence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Will's like,
And everyone, let me preface, literally probably like some of the people watching this podcast think my over the fence situation was fake.
That video has so many millions of views between Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Like,
It does look
actually
fake.
20 or 40
Yeah.
million people have
It
seen
looks
you.
fake because of the way like Steven's like filming it. You can't see that my fingernail, the fence went through my fingernail, caught me, and I'm like in this limbo section of like stuck on the top of the fence, and it finally ripped my fingernail off, and I just went over the
yeah.
fence.
And then Will's like, oh, I'm like, are you all right? And also, like, before this, I was like, hey, Will, like, let's put up some GoPros on this. He's like, no, it's just a small test because I don't have any brakes.
And I believe Steven has told me before that he suggested, why don't we just, because you even had the brake mounted, you just didn't run the brake line yet. I believe Steven once told me,
I think so.
yes, I asked Will, we should wait until we have the brake. And I edited the video. I'm 90% sure you're on camera saying, oh, we don't need the brake. I'm not going to go that hard.
Yeah. And
He's
then
like, plus I want to make sure it works before Edwin gets here because he's going to go hard on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Will hits the fence, goes over, and he's like, oh, my finger. I'm like still filming you because it looked so comical, and it looked like you did that on purpose.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
even to me, I was like, what are you doing
You're
in
wearing
the
your
garden?
Elmo helmet.
Yeah, he's like laying on the ground, and then so we bring him in. I'm like, Will, you're gonna have to let me do some first aid on you. And he's like, no. So I'm like chasing him around the Ethan's house, like trying to catch him and like first aid his finger because he just freaking put a paper towel around his fingernail and then zip tied it on.
You zip tie?
I hate blood. I hate the color of it. I hate the consistency of it. I hate it coming out of my body so badly that I would rather, like, if my hand got cut off, I would just put like multiple paper towels on it and zip tie it and just leave it at that. I would not want to deal with that situation ever.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I finally did track him down though and got his situation cleaned and bandaged properly.
Yeah.
I've
And
done a lot of first aid on you, I feel like.
I almost hit Steven too because I was coming around the track and I'd never driven a 3-wheeler before. So it was like wonky and I was like, oh, and I was like
thought he was
already
gonna turn and
nervous.
keep going around the driveway, and he just went straight into the fence.
I
You even
could
yelled
not turn.
something as you were falling. I'm going to pull it up and hold the audio into the microphone so you guys can hear this. Also, I'm curious how many views it has now.
I forget what I said, but I
You
was
said
like,
something like, watch out, the brakes are out.
This is dangerous. This thing is not okay. We've got a custom swing arm. Everything's extended. I'm super excited to send it. We don't have rear brakes right now.
You said it on
because
camera.
I just want to make sure this works before Edwin gets here because Edwin goes really hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just going to take it super easy. We're going to see how this thing goes, and hopefully it goes well.
Yeah, see right there, you can
Yeah.
see me like leap out of the way. I don't get why you didn't just turn, Will.
You okay, dude? You lost the chain.
oh, did I?
There was no brakes. I don't know what happened. Are you all right, though?
Yeah, I think I'm okay.
You're You're also missing one shoe.
Oh, yeah.
About that. You were wearing slippers.
The wheels lift off the ground. This three-wheeler is dangerous as heck.
So there's many reasons why the Grom is such a staple. There's that.
Yep.
And then we kind of surprised Ethan. This was his last big surprise. It was such a long time ago. So
We haven't surprised that man in a while.
So Will picked out the Elmo because it's pretty premium. So it's like a red thing that goes over a street bike helmet, full face, and the like where an ears would be on a bear
yeah.
is where the eyes of Elmo kind of stick out. It's a good description.
Yeah.
And then mine is like a Google bear monster. It's like long hair, tie-dye. It looks pretty wild.
Yeah, it does look
And
wild.
then we got Ethan, the Santa Claus, because it has a beard, and Ethan always has a beard. Sometimes I don't, so we figured that's most fitting. But we waited until it was snowy. So at this point, Will had the brakes dialed, everything dialed on the three-wheeler Grom. We built a wheelie bar, like stand thing, like stunt bikes have, so you could stand kind of behind the seat and really get it to wheelie. It was dialed. The pond froze over, so we're like, let's do donuts on the ice.
Yep.
We screwed in, like, how many hours did that take? Hundreds of
That
studs.
took me like 3 solid hours of just screwing little studs into the tire.
And it worked great though
It
on the
did,
ice.
yeah.
It was
But
fun.
instead of doing it in the warm garage, we decided to wheel it down to the ice, make sure we needed studs. We did.
Yeah, right away.
And then instead of being in the warm garage, Will's out there in a hoodie on the ice. It's like 3 degrees, just screwing in these studs for hours.
Yeah.
We get it all set up, and then I hand Ethan the helmet with the Santa Claus beard. He's wearing a red jacket, and we're just doing donuts for many, many hours. It got so late, we brought down the lights, and we like did it in the dark, and we were just doing wheelies, donuts, all kind of mad stunts.
It was
Ethan
fun.
Santa Claus Ethan, like so legendary. And then after all this, we're like, the Grom can have one more situation. And that's when we decided to snow bike it.
We
And
snow biked
It was very
it.
challenging to get from where it was to the garage. So what we did is we put the front tire on a sled. Will pulled the sled. I popped the clutch, and we just plowed through the snow.
It
all the
was
way to the
awesome.
garage.
It worked
yeah.
so well.
That actually did work pretty well.
And Ethan had like an explanation of why it wouldn't work anywhere else. But I'm pretty sure if we had ratchet strapped that to the front, we could have just driven around the yard.
Apparently, we didn't even need to snow bike it.
Yeah, it
could've
was
just worked
sick.
as is. But this is the thing. Will and I come up with ideas all the time. And Ethan says that won't work. And we do it anyways. And every time, it doesn't work. But this time, we were right. He said it wouldn't work.
And it
by
worked.
golly, we drove it all the way to the garage. And he was like, wow, I'm surprised. There's still 100 ways to do it easier than that, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Will was like, you got right in his face, like, but it worked. You're like, let me have this one, please.
Yeah, we came up with that idea all on our own, and it worked flawlessly. It was
Yeah.
amazing.
Which
And
was the first and last time? Have we been right about something recently?
what have we built? We built the shopping cart, and Ethan was pretty skeptical about that. Remember?
Yeah, but he never said it wouldn't work. He just said it was-
No, but he thought it was going to turn out a lot weirder than it did. And it turned out that was like,
it's very nice.
yeah, it's very premium.
That shopping
project.
cart's a premium machine.
Yeah, that's a real
We just
machine.
pushed it around this morning.
My second generation. That's the first generation, and then this is the new generation of projects that will work.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we have one project that we haven't talked about where the Grom is.
Well, the snow
now.
bike
We
don't
worked.
need to talk about
We're
that
getting
one.
there. We're getting there. So the snow bike worked. It is underpowered, but it worked. And then I was like, okay, the Grom's done everything it could be. What could it be? And I have been wanting to do this for a long time. I wanted to just put really big tires. We have a really nice go-kart, our first real adult-sized go-kart ever. That has engine mounts, everything.
It's
ready
amazing.
to go.
And that's something I didn't get swindled on. We got
you
that for a good deal.
deal.
Yeah.
You really swindled that one good.
That one's
$1,500 for
Did we
something
ever
we
even
could.
drive that?
No, it doesn't have an engine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But it has the engine mounts for an engine that we already have.
Yeah.
My idea was let's just bolt a bunch of tires to this go-kart and make it amphibious so we can float Like, I think Whistling Diesel did it on a 3-wheeler once where he put like tractor tires on
And
a
he just
3-wheeler.
drove in the lake.
Drove in the lake. I'm like, that, but a go-kart would be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Will was like, I have a better idea. And he shows me a picture on his phone of a 12-year-old on a bunch of pipes from Home Depot, ratchet strapped together. He was like, what if we make a raft? He got really excited about this raft idea. He was like, it's going to be so hot the week Ethan's gone. I just want to work on something that we can like go to the lake when we're done. It's going to be really easy. And I'm like, I think my idea is better, but let's just go.
Well, I
for
also
it.
told you that I didn't want to put that premium go-kart in the lake because we didn't want it to get like all rusty and stuff. And we did agree on that.
Yeah.
But then I definitely increased the odds that I definitely increased the level of creativity when I showed you that 12-year-old floating on the raft.
So I didn't know anything about this situation. Ethan was gone, and you guys were both not telling me, probably because, like, you knew I might be like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
If Will and I want to do something we know is a bad idea,
We don't tell people.
anyone until it's too late,
Yep.
so they can't stop us from doing it.
We hit the sewer pipe aisle, and I was like, oh no, it all clicked. And I
Yeah,
was
we
like,
didn't tell
"Oh."
Steven. This is a whole ghost episode that, I don't know, is kind of worrisome.
We're
if it-
finishing it after we finish
I
the
don't
Ruckus.
know about that.
Oh, it is
It's
such
a disaster. It's a disastrous project, and if it does come out,
Picture a Grom engine powering Banshee sand dune tires on a Home Depot raft situation that definitely will not float.
my
Picturing it going.
my idea was to craft something that our younger viewers could build. And so I was like, when I pitched it to Edwin, I was like, there's going to be minimal welds,
Just Home Depot stuff.
mostly built out of plastic that you can put together with glue. I want it to be
This is what he
something.
told me. I'll use your exact
Yeah.
words. What comes up to me, because I'm still trying to talk him out of it. I think we should just add a bunch of tires to the go-kart. And he was like, I want to build the go-kart for everyone. All you need is a cheap welder, a grinder, and parts from Home Depot. And I was like, you know what? That sounds really nice. Let's do it.
And a fake Grom engine.
Which you can get for $90 on Amazon.
Oh,
We spent like 5 hours of our time getting that engine out.
oh my gosh.
So that is a long way.
It was a
of
good
saying
pitch, though.
that why this is a good idea. But the second we run it across Ethan, I'm like, no, absolutely not. Because Ethan hates the Grom. He hated it when we bought it. He hated it when we 3-wheelered it. He hated it when we snowbiked it.
Yeah.
It's really loud, really obnoxious. And Ethan only likes things with like 100 horsepower or more.
That are quality, that have had like time. And I can appreciate a time
Yeah.
well spent build. Like with the Ruckus and the shopping cart, I'm starting to mature in my ideas and be like, building things over the course of a month or two allows you to refine things, not have so many loose bolts, and have a refined machine.
But there's something fun about just adding a 3-wheeler swing arm to
Yeah.
a Grom and just sending
Because
it.
it's like a 2-day build and it works
Yeah.
and it drives.
And it looks cool. And like, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And so Will and I like to come up with these ideas.
It
But
is
Ethan
fun to
hates the
goof
Grom.
around.
What I'm thinking is we take every part of the Grom from every saga, the snow bike track, the end of the 3-wheeler, the little custom parts we had to make for the sprockets that are super jank compared
Maybe
to
a
what
couple
Ethan
of the
would've done.
plumbing tubes to go around the outside.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And then we make a huge table left to right that tells the story that we just told of the Grom. And that's the new podcast table.
Yeah, I like that idea.
We have to wait until I have my own garage
and we have to,
so we can build it without Ethan.
yeah, and then we have to find a way to shuttle the table up here and just sneak it into the
We'll
garage.
just strap it to the roof of the Tesla.
I like that.
Ethan's gonna
Yeah.
see it and be like,
He's like, I was wondering why you guys took all the parts from
We
the
have like
Grom."
the internals of the Grom engine, like this motor, but it's like
I'm like,
this big.
you guys wasted $3,000 worth of epoxy on the Grom. He's like, we've already wasted
Yeah.
so much time and money.
and where this table is like clear, we should add like tie-dye colors that go into
just make
it.
it very creative.
Yeah, and it has like tie-dye Crayola crayon colors floating
this
through.
table was almost $2,000 of epoxy, right, Steven?
And that was with a deal.
Steven or I are about to get a wish.
What?
This is an Argentina thing.
What?
What?
Steven has an eyelash on his face, which is good luck, by the way.
I was wondering what's been in my eye.
Yeah, here. What the devil? Okay, so this is what you do with eyelashes for good luck. You put it on your thumb. And now you put out your thumb. And we put our thumbs together. Whoever's thumb sticks to the eyelash, you get a wish.
Really?
Yeah, Em taught me this.
Oh.
You ready?
Okay, let's see.
1, 2. Do you know what you're going to wish for?
Yeah.
Oh,
I get my wish.
Yeah, you get a wish.
Nice.
And then you blow it. So wish?
Oh, I just put it on the ground.
Oh, well, you blow it off.
Oh, okay. Well,
But
I'll
that
pretend.
still counts. You get a wish.
All right.
the devil.
I made my wish.
Yeah. There's so much of that kind of stuff in South America.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
They're probably really lucky people.
They get so many wishes for your birthday. 3 wishes, not 1 when you blow out your
Oh,
candles.
what the heck?
3.
We only
Go
get
under
one.
a bridge with the train on it. Wish. I think this one's common like everywhere, but rain on your wedding, very lucky.
That sounds terrible.
Exactly. I think that's why they came up with it. Like you obviously don't want it to rain on your wedding.
So
if it does,
if
rain
it
on
does,
your
you're
wedding,
like,
it's good
wow,
luck.
it's so lucky.
There's like a million other ones too.
Ah.
Like there's so many things that you get wishes for. I like wonder if it like decreases the chances of the wish
of the wish coming true. Yeah, it dilutes the waters.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't make that many wishes.
Yeah.
Well,
only
hopefully
make
you
one.
made a good one then.
I did.
And
It's
next
a
time you
great
drive
wish.
under a train on a bridge, the train has to.
I'm just
going
gonna keep wishing for the same thing until I get it.
Yeah, that seems like a
Yeah.
good strategy.
I usually don't wish unless it's in a dire situation. Like if I think I'm gonna die, I like wish that I lived, and then I live.
When's
Every
the last
time.
time you did that?
When I got ran over by the car, or no, when I was at the top of the pass, I was like wishing. I was like, I wish that I'm not gonna die, and I didn't die.
I've never seen Will in such a dire situation, and it's kind of funny because like everyone else has raincoats, and he just has like this Walmart brand bright red poncho, and then he had this green cover for his backpack, so we were calling him the Grinch the whole time, and he's like huddled up in a ball. If I didn't know that those colors were you, I would have thought that it was just like a stash of backpacks or something.
It's like a pile of trash. No, that's
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah, dude, you looked dire though. You're like, I gotta warm up, man. I gotta warm up.
Yeah. So I think that wishes have power if you use them minorly, because I've been in some situations when I've wished for something like living, and I just
What was the
fine.
best one?
all of them are good. I just like feel like every time I'm like, wow, that wish worked, you
What
know?
was the time before you got run over? About Leavenworth, or your
Leavenworth experience,
run over?
getting ran over by the truck. And then the time before that was the hitting the deer. The time before that was
So they're mostly motorcycle crashes.
motorcycle crashes or car crashes. Like when I woke up flying across a bridge on the Jeep, I was like, oh, please don't die. And I didn't die. But yeah, just
So part of you does want to live.
I want to live, and I know I'll live. Like every time, I'm just like, I'm fine.
You just make bad choices. Like, because
Yeah.
I think that like maybe you don't want to live as much as most people because you ride your motorcycle so recklessly so often.
No, I just want to live like a fast life. So like, if that means like, I don't want to get to an age where I'm like, oh man, that was just so gnarly, man. My life used to be so fast. I just want to be fast all the way through. And if that means I'm like 90 years old, like driving illegal streetcars on the road and like getting in trouble by the law, that's fine. And I'll be fine with that. But like, if it means that I'm like 40 years old and I yeet myself off of a street bike or something, that's like,
But what if you like eat yourself off a street bike like next summer?
oh, that's not going to happen. I'm pretty much bulletproof at this point. I think I've really solidified the fact that I just can't get broken.
We had a interesting question on our last podcast, and now that someone brought it up, I'm thinking about it. So, were you born in Idaho? Where were you born?
Michigan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. Like right outside
So-
Detroit.
For how long did you live there?
I lived there for like 3 years, I think.
And then moved here?
And then I moved to Iowa, and then I moved to Washington. And then I moved here, and then I moved all over the place around here. And then I think we went back to Washington and then back to here.
So maybe you get it from Iowa? Just someone was like, why does Will speak in multiple accents? Like, is he like from the South or?
I had someone ask me that. They asked me seriously about that. I think it was like,
You have like
maybe Remington asked me if I spoke in a different like language or something. And I was like, no, those like accents are to describe different people or like different emotions.
Yeah.
Because if I just talk like me, this is my normal voice. And if I just talk to you like this, you know it is me.
Yeah.
But if it's like, if I crash my car and like some gruff old man comes up and is like, says something weird to me, you got to know that it was a different person.
What?
You know? Like,
No, I don't know.
hey, little man. Like, you know?
But
Like,
this is the thing, because sometimes you talk like this, and then sometimes you talk like this.
yeah,
and then
that's a
sometimes-
weird
and
situation.
then, like, oh man, I can't do it. What's the one that you always do when you talk like Will?
Oh yeah, what do I say?
It's just so swindly.
swindly, man.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's so swindly, man.
Yeah, man.
So what is that
Yeah, man,
accent?
it's so swindly, man.
Because like you do so many, I don't know which one is your real one.
Well, that's when I'm talking about something that either I did or someone else did that like didn't work out or was like kind of swindly. That's like a swindly voice.
like the day you came to work with a scar across your face, and I was like, "What happened?" You're like, "I don't know, man." And I was like, "What do you mean you don't know?" You're like, "I woke up at the bottom of a tree, man. Maybe I fell out of the tree, man."
yeah, that's swindly, and I didn't know. So that's
But then
the
if
voice
you
you're
crashed
presented.
your car and some guy came up to you and said,
It'd be like a gruff voice, you know? Like,
so you'd speak gruff?
yeah, because he's speaking to me. It's not me. That's not my voice. He doesn't get to use my voice. I have a trademark on that. You can't use my normal voice to explain that an old man was jank. That's like,
It sounds
You
like
understand?
I thought you just did it depending on what you felt like at the
no,
moment.
there's very specific reasons
All right.
that very specific
So
voices
let's
are
really
used.
go into this. What is your baseline like? Let's say you're talking to your mom on the phone about what you did that day.
It just would be like, I built a go-kart and almost died.
So you'd
That's
still
how most
kinda
of those
have that.
conversations
You'd still
go.
have that kind of go-kart almost died.
Yeah,
You'd
but
still
like
have
the
that in
problem
your normal
is
voice.
also the problem is like on this podcast I can't replicate the voices that are used in the situation when I use them. Like I cannot like I would have to be hard pressed. Someone would have to explain a situation to me so in depth that I believed it for those other voices to come out.
I think you used 3 different voices just on this podcast.
Probably when I was explaining other things.
So did you always have multiple voices, or was it from moving, or?
I don't know. I've never even really known that I had different voices until I started working here and it started getting noticed. So
It's so funny because when I first met you, you rolled in with your Miata without any doors, and you were like,
or anything. It didn't
Yeah.
even have a windshield.
yeah, or a hood or anything.
It had 2 seats from my school.
And it was in the winter, and you had chains on the back of your Miata, and you were wearing 4 hoodies and a full face helmet on your car.
And that was my daily driver. It wasn't like that was like a fun car. Like that was the only car I owned.
Wait, tell me more about the seats. You
The
literally took seats
were
from your
seats
school?
from my school that I just bolted in. They were like shop seats or something, and I just bolted them straight through the floor, hit one of the brake lines, took out the rear brakes, then had to learn how to do this thing where you jimmy them back together with like some plumbing material. So the rear brakes never really worked ever again. But they were bolted on with the driver's seat had 2 Home Depot bolts that went through and held it on. And then the other seat had 3 little
Did it have a
screws.
seatbelt?
Yeah, it did. It had the stock
OEM pulled over like crazy.
No,
if
it
you
had
didn't
the
have a
OEM seat belts. And that's about all it had. It was my first like real experience with like building something.
That was literally the first day I saw Will, and I was working on a drone, and he was like, "Oh, like I build drones too," and I was like, "Sweet." And so we talked for a while, and he only used 2 of his accents then, but then like he said so much funny stuff and stuff out of context, and I mean, you guys listen to the podcast, you get Will's personality like on the show. Like at first I was like, oh, Will's like a class clown and he thinks of the funniest thing to say in every moment. And he's like, his goal in life is to try and be funny. That's what I thought like the first bit of time. The more and more I get to know you, you're not trying to do anything, impress anyone, be funny. You're not trying at any moment to do anything.
Nope.
It just happens.
It just is what happens.
It's like when painters or musicians talk about being in their flow state. You're just like actually there all the time with your words and mostly your mind too, I think.
Yep. That's just me. That's
like
how
when
I am.
I asked you what was your best moment of September and you were like, you're not in September. You're right here.
right here, right now.
And you're just saying whatever.
Yep. You just
comes
got to
to your
say
mind.
what comes out
My
because
favorite thing you've ever said is when you were like, I just travel through time and space at different speeds than other people.
I do. I think Edwin and I are kind of on the same level as that. We just think in a different way. Creatively, it's just like just at a different speed.
See, I think I'm somewhere between you guys and Ethan because I'm not quite as logically minded as Ethan, but like I don't quite travel through space like you guys, but like I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm like the bridge between like swindliness and Ethan.
Well, it's funny. Everyone thought I smoked in high school because I look like a stoner. I sound like a stoner. I think like a stoner. I think like I'm stoned all the time. And it's so funny because I never was a stoner, but everyone just assumed. And they're like,
and they still
absolutely
assume.
shocked. Like when my sister was like in high school, all of her friends would be like, wow, your brother is the highest person I've ever met. And I never was high, ever. And so that is just what I like process things like. And Ethan had a party when the head of eBay Motors was here. Like he was literally the one who did like all the modathon, all the like everything. He was the one who ran that ship. It was him, Ethan, Steven. Will and I were just in the corner chatting. And the head of eBay was like, wow, these guys are the highest people I've ever seen.
I remember that.
In my entire life. And we weren't even high.
No.
And he was just like, I was like, wow, we're making ourselves look bad, in front of eBay. But it's just what we talk about. Like when
Just
it's
what we say.
Will and I, you wouldn't believe, but we just get each other. And like, he's the only person that like, I don't need to like finish what I'm saying. Like I can just look at you and nod, and I just know
like we
that
both
you're, like,
nod. We know that idea is just like formulating in the air.
It's like he just like knows. Like we were eating nachos up at the ski resort one time when we were gonna do our one wheel mission.
The
we talked
100-mile
about
challenge.
on the last podcast, and like we just looked at each other, and I was like, "Right, you see it, right?" And he was like, "Yep, I see it," and we knew exactly what each other was talking about. And it was weird, but I don't know what it is, but I just
You guys are just
like that.
on the same plane of swindliness, I think.
Yeah.
So you can just like,
And it works to benefit us most of the time. We can like create things really quickly and we just know what's going on.
And just like ideas just in that flow.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess I don't know how normal people experience life to like not be constantly in an idea flow state kind of loop. it's honestly kind of hard to like sit down and edit videos.
It gets distracting. Yeah.
Because I was in the podcast, so I already know every word and I need to edit it. It's really hard for me because I'm in like what's the next idea? What's the next thing we're going to talk about on the podcast? What's the next thing we're going to build? What's the next piece of music I'm going to make? Like, it's just like, and then I just need to sit there and edit a conversation I already had. It's actually really difficult for me.
Yep. That's
can't turn it
why all
off.
my projects were janky at first, because I would like be building a project, already know what it was going to look like at the end, and then just be like, I want to build another thing this week or this week. And so it's hard to like focus.
There's something exciting about like the new nuggets.
And
It's
that's
like, I've
why
been
we end
eating
up with
vanilla
Groms.
cupcakes for months, and I want to try the strawberry one next time I'm at the store.
Did you say you got a cake?
Yeah, I brought pie today.
What kind of pie?
It's like chocolate. Get a slice, man.
Chocolate pie?
Yeah.
Should we wrap this up and have some pie?
Well,
You cut me a slice.
I wanted to ask Steven because whenever I look this up, because I just want to look up like how to focus on creative projects to finish them. Like, how can I be a more efficient video editor? If it's like cut and dry video editing, not like, I'm going to do this great transition where it's the drone and then it fades into the garage. Like, just the cut and dry, cut out the stuff that's boring, add in the stuff that's good. Like, and every time I look up like the flow state type stuff, like I think everyone experiences it differently in the first place. Every article, even ChatGPT I tried asking, everything is about how to achieve a flow state and creativity. Like, everybody wants what I have too much of. So what I'm wondering is like how to turn it off and be normal to finish like boring work.
I don't think you can turn it off.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an option.
I think you can learn to like, I've learned to like work with the like ideas that are bouncing around in my head and then just like compartmentalize. Is that a word? Compartmentalize?
Yeah.
Yeah. Compartmentalize them in my mind so that they're like kind of like pushed away for a second. I've learned how to do that, but I've also looked up that stuff and they're like, it's not possible. At least for me, like figuring out how to like shut down and do boring work is so hard. I don't know. I don't know if it's something that you can achieve.
I feel like this is why I take so long to edit videos sometimes, because I get the bulk of it done like that. Like, I've been doing it for 5 years just for Grind Hard now, like another 4 years before that on my own little things and other people's stuff. But it's like in the morning, I can just bust it out. Like, my brain hasn't fully turned on. And then
Oh no. Gets to full
later,
capacity.
though, it's like I just want to spend 3 hours working on this one transition, putting this music right on like the parts where Ethan's hammering. Like, that's what I really want to do. But if I need to sit down and just like create a clip for Instagram out of one of our videos to help promote it, it's like impossible.
Yep.
And then I try to find other people to help do that, and that's even worse. I realized over my last couple of weeks of trying to find people. So
Yeah,
if
you were
make
saying-
really good shorts and clips and like podcast clips, and you want a job, email us. Our email's in the description of all of Grindhard's videos. So just put up Grindhard Plumbing Co.
Yeah, and there's so many talented people out there that do that, like
I know.
just for a hobby on Instagram.
Yeah. Why
And then
can't I find one?
We
to
go
help
on
us?
Fiverr and it's like some like Indian like production company and it's like not spelled correctly and stuff. It's
Yeah.
very jank.
That's hard. So we need someone. So if you're already doing it for fun, how would you like to do it for money and edit Will talk about stuff? It's awesome.
Yeah, it would be premium.
And then it's the first time they've seen it, so it's more motivating to make
Yeah,
it into something
it's-
good.
it's
if I've
new.
already edited it in 2 different ways, it's hard for me to be like, okay, I'm going to edit it differently for like Instagram or whatever. But that's what we need.
Yep. We need someone to make little reels and
Yep.
content. So
Pie time.
High time.
That was the Sent and Bent podcast. It's available anywhere there's podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Google, all that stuff. Check it out. We're going to go next week in with talking about the way that Ethan and I talk about like the creative process. Cause for me, it's like very like musical. Like I can hear the finished product kind of and like see the waveforms. And when I said that to Ethan last night, he was like, I can't even fathom what you're talking about. And so I'm curious what he thinks of, because he can see an entire machine in his head. Like when he started the Dream Camper, he's like putting parts around and he's like, yep, I got it.
Yeah, he builds things so fast, just visually. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That man doesn't use like a lot of math or anything.
It's just in his head and it works somehow. So our next podcast is going to be Ethan and I talking about kind of that difference. And I think that's going to be really interesting. So check it out next week. Every Monday.
Jeez, pie time.
Oh, I haven't bent my knees in a while. Ooh.
That's why I was like thinking it might have been like a really long time because
How
it's
long?
12:30 now.